Hi guys, it's Steph from IDRIVEACLASSIC and today I'm back. We've never had a Volvo on the channel before, so what better way to kick it off than an amazing 1970s Volvo 164. Now this car is absolutely gorgeous inside and out. It's a real luxury car and I cannot wait to take you out in it. So as always, we're going to look around the outside, have a look on the inside, show you all the different bits and pieces, and then I'm going to take you out for a drive, but we're also going to catch up with the owner too. Because if you looked at the outside of this car and when you first saw it, you probably thought, God, that's an amazing car. It'd be a dream to own. And can you believe the owner of this car is not even 30 yet, and he's done all sorts of work on it as well. So we're going to catch up with him today as well. But yeah, this is a really exciting scoop for IDRIVEACLASSIC and I cannot wait to take you out. So let's start by having a look round. Today we are taking a look and testing the Volvo 164, and our journey with this begins all the way back in 1968, which for reference is 1 year before man landed on the moon, and it was when this car was first debuted, so all the way back at the Paris Motor Show in the autumn of 1968. So the 164 was the first time Volvo had ventured into the world of luxury cars since the production of the PV60, which ended in 1950, so nearly 2 decades later. So they were keen to ensure that they were hitting the right notes with the discerning luxury buyer, pitching themselves against the upper echelons of British motoring choices such as Jaguar and of course the German luxe car manufacturers of the day, which are still loved by many, Mercedes and BMW. The 164 was the first six-cylinder car Volvo had produced since 1958, and the car had many elements of uniqueness, and in fact the wings, the grille, the front bumper, the bonnet, the headlamp bezels and even the front indicators were all unique to the 164. And to ensure that the big engine could be accommodated sufficiently, the 164's wings and bonnet were both longer than those of the four-cylinder 140, but the overall height and width of the 164 were exactly the same as the 140 series. And for reference, the 140 series was Volvo's line of mid-range, kind of size vehicles which were produced by Volvo in the 60s and the 70s. Now, with less than 100 of these superb automatic 164s left on the road in Britain today, this might be a car that you've never spotted, and in fact certainly wasn't a car that I've spotted, and maybe just like me you thought that the car had only seen a limited production over in Sweden. However, these superb vehicles were made from 1968 through to 1975 and were manufactured not only in Sweden but Australia, South Africa and Malaysia, which means that many of you watching this video far away from here could actually be driving one that's locally made. And I've been informed actually that there are still a decent number in Australia, so it'd be great if you're watching the video today and you own one over in Australia. How's it going over there? Like, have you got one running? What's it like? Is it hard to drive in the hot weather? That's always one of my questions about classic cars, especially ones abroad. So something that I liked about Volvo, and I still like, is that they were a manufacturer that never stopped improving what they put out. So the car was updated, so it's introduced in 68 and first updated in 1972 to include fuel injection under the bonnet, and in the cabin the dash saw a bit of a facelift and the introduction of a centre console, some dash switches, and the clock location was revised, and the door handles were changed to a pull style too. But they didn't stop there, and in 1963 this 164 saw another major facelift, which included the rear and side lamps, new grille and new bumper to the exterior, and again they looked back inside the car and made some changes to the dash, including new instrument cluster and air ducts on the dash too. And that's not the best bit, because in 1973 they also added the option of heated seats, which, let me tell you now, is a must-have for colder climates in the winter and something I would love on my cars. But perhaps it was an option that wasn't as popular in sunnier places like Malaysia and Australia. Now, always keeping safety in mind, Volvo used 1974 as an opportunity to go back to the basics, and they revised the doors and strengthened parts of the body too, and they even went as far as looking at the floor pan. And so what they did was they revised it to move the fuel tank for better protection in the event of an accident, which for me is wise thinking, and again another hallmark of that Volvo safety. So in fact it's probably worth, I do mention it a couple of times in the video anyway, but Volvo created the seatbelt and actually didn't put a patent in place so that that safety could be translated across the car market, which for me is one of the biggest things of the 20th century, along with the introduction of the internet and not putting a patent on that as well. In fact, if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't be looking at this car today. Now, I always love in videos to chuck in a little bit of useless trivia, so here's mine today for you. The Volvo 164, although not spotted much on the roads today, has been in many TV and film productions, including Men in Black 2, Hawaii Five-0, Mission Impossible, Taxi Driver, and much more. Now, we've had a little chat about the car, so I think it's, and I've also given you some amazing useless trivia, so I think it's high time, before we took a closer look at the dash and started the car up, that we had a chat with the owner, Stephen. Now, it's worth knowing that he is under the age of 30 and he has restored a lot of this himself, and he's made a few tweaks, he's updated things, and now he's using it as his family car, which for me is incredible. So let's finish up in here and then cut through to have a chat with Stephen and find out all about this amazing Volvo 164.
So this 164, it did belong to my granddad. So the story behind it goes that it was, my granddad owned various old classic cars, and he wanted something with 4 doors. To make it easier getting in and out of the garage, and me being quite the Volvo enthusiast, I've got 240s and stuff. I convinced him that a 164 would fit the bill exactly. He wanted a luxury car, something to compete with. He had a Mercedes 250 CE coupe before. Yeah, so a 164 fitted the bill perfectly. It was just a case of finding one, and we found this car for sale in Brandisburton in East Yorkshire. And it did belong to an MEP, Sir Greg Knight, who is quite influential with like the classic car movement, if you like. So we bought it. I did a bit of work to it. I maintained it for my granddad. A few years down the line, I'd already sort of registered my interest with my granddad that if he was ever to sell it, that I'd be interested in buying it. And as it happened, a few years down the line, he decided that he wanted the car to remain in the family, but he'd become too ill to drive. He'd had his licence taken off him, and very kindly he gave me the car on the basis that I would look after it, keep it original, which is one thing that he was always quite sort of keen on. He liked original cars. And I made best efforts to take him to show so he could still enjoy the car from a passenger's point of view. Unfortunately, last year then he died, and I made the decision that I was going to do a body restoration on the car. I'd already done everything mechanical. And yeah, so last year it had a full strip down, a few body panels, a pair of new front wings, and a full respray that was carried out at a body shop that I'm friendly with. And we just enjoy using the car. It's very much a family car. You might have seen that there's a baby seat in the back. It was actually a bit of a race against time to get the restoration done in time for Jacob when he was born. He was born on the 22nd of August, and the car was painted, if memory serves correctly, about the 12th of August, so it was about 10 days to get the car back together. And he came back from the hospital. His first trip in a car was in this 1972 Volvo 164. So yeah, I think my granddad would be proud of that. Yeah, we use it whenever. Obviously I try and keep it out of the not very nice weather, the salt and stuff, but generally if we want to go somewhere, we want to go in the 164, crack on, we're going it. I'm not too precious over it. And all the family loves it, including Jess.
Now that we've had a look around the outside of the car and we've had a quick sneaky peek on the inside and under the bonnet, of course, it's time to have a look what we've got on the dash. So one of the things that I really love about this car is it screams 1970s, the era that Toast forgot, styling, which I absolutely love. It's that whole like vinyl, fake wood, you know, even that font that they use, well, typeface, even the typeface they use on things like this, absolutely adore it. Everything about this car for me ticks all the boxes. I love the colour of the interior, I love just everything about it. So probably going to be quite a biased review because I fell in love with the car straight away and I cannot wait to show you her. So let's talk through what we've got on the dash. Now, this is the era of, you know, a little bit like when mobile phones were in their infancy, people did crazy things like brought out phones in different colours and did like weird little add-ons and stuff. Cars of this era, and it's something that you don't see on modern cars really more because it's quite boring, is that you find that they've got little quirks and little features that you don't see on other makes and models. Now, over here you've got a random handle. I mean, you've got seatbelts, for God's sake. You do not need a handle, but I actually quite like it. In fact, I was like holding on to it on the way here. And then over here you've got a cassette player, but it looks very in keeping as well, because obviously it's a little bit newer than the car, but because it's black and it's, you know, it all looks very sympathetically put together. Over here you've got your ashtray, but why you'd want to dirty a car like this with a cigarette, I do not know. You've got your heater controls over here. Again, this is a lot more advanced than some of the stuff that was rocking around at the same time. So, you know, yeah, this was a high-spec luxury car, but at the same time it does feel quite advanced. Now, something that I absolutely love is when you take out a car, you get to see things that things that get lost, things like this, for example. So you've got your original lighter thing here, which we obviously know, and then you've got over here you've got your heater fan. So again, talking about the quirks, you pull it out once, that's fully on, but then if you want it only half on, it's pull out again. Look, I don't make the rules, just tell you what's going on. And over here we've got the GT stuff going on, GT dials and stuff. So you've got your fog lights at standard, you've got your rear demist, we've got a clock, you've got a hazard warning light, and also, for the safety conscious amongst us, you've got a fasten seatbelt sign. Now that doesn't surprise me, because many people know that Volvo were kind of the champions of seatbelts. They didn't add a paint into the seatbelt design because they wanted everybody to put safety first. And what a great thing to be known as a car manufacturer is all about safety. So it doesn't surprise me, there's a lot of different things going on in here. You've got a lot of different warning lights as well. You've got things for like your oil, you've got one for your handbrake as well. Just there's quite a lot going on. So you've got your rev counter over here, you've got your petrol tank, you've got your fuel gauge over here, temperature gauge, and of course speedometer. You've got your lights over here. So again, lovely big chunky controls, you know, you've got all of those. And it's that sometimes when you get in older cars, your little Baker light switches can feel quite flimsy, feel like they're going to break, but with these they feel, and I'm sure this is probably the easiest one for me to show you with, the fan. It's that kind of build quality, it feels quite sturdy. And over here you've got your choke and your wash and wipe. So I'm going to demonstrate this for you. Just going to put there, just I quite like it. So first of all, you've got your wipe, you've got your 2-speed wipe, but watch this, when I turn it, so I'm going to knock it down one there. So when we turn it, that's how you get your washer fluid as well. And it's all in really easy, you could kind of reach everything quite easily. So I'll just pop the dash off there. Now, as we go for a drive, I'll talk to you about how this was marketed as a luxury car, but one of the things that struck me was that the wood was fake. I thought, this wasn't a cheap car, why was the wood fake? So I was talking to the owner, Steve, and he said to me, very interestingly, Volvo's ideas of what made a good quality car were totally different to some of like your British manufacturers that were going out there saying, you know, you've got carpets, you know, handcrafted, you've got this, you've got that, but you know, at the same time you've got your Lucas electronic bits and pieces that you're having to buy 2 or 3 of, especially things like condensers, because you're not always sure they're going to work, even back in the day. Whereas Volvo said, for us, the quality isn't always in things like the wood. We're happy to compromise and put, you know, the fake wood veneer in, but things like our build quality is better. They thought about the metal, they thought about how the car went together, they thought about what would happen in an accident. They were a lot more forward thinking in terms of mechanicals, bodywork, and I think it really shows, because as we look around this car and we take it for a drive, you're going to see what I mean when I say that it really hasn't diminished over the years. You still get an excellent sense of what a fantastic car this is. Now I think it's high time that we started the car up, so yeah, let's get on with that. Now this is an automatic, and as you guys know, I'm slowly falling in love with the older autos. It was always something drummed into me from an early age that going for an auto was almost a second-rate option, but I have re-educated myself by testing some amazing cars like this, like the Rover. So I'm slowly coming around to the idea of autos, and you know, they're great. And so I wanted to show you before we set off. So we've got 3 litre straight 6 under the bonnet, so let's hear how this sounds. So I'm going to turn it on, give it a bit of gas, we'll try again. There we go. So you can hear there, it sounds absolutely exceptional. It's not particularly loud, it's got an aftermarket exhaust on, and it's not particularly loud, but there's enough there, and you'll be able to hear when we're driving that it sounds good. It sounds really well cared for, which again is a testament to the owner. So now that we've started the car up, I'll just quickly show you the auto box before we head off. So as always, it's foot on the brake before we go into any of the gears. We've got reverse, obviously you've got your neutral, drive, second, and then first as well. So put her back into park. We've got the handbrake on, so the handbrake is to my right hand side, which is definitely going to take a bit of getting used to, but I'm sure we'll get there. And we'll start heading off now. Guys, this car is absolutely incredible. It's not my first time driving it. We had a little bit of a mishap earlier this week in that we recorded this last Monday, so it's Sunday now, so we recorded it on Monday. I got home to edit, everything was going fine, and then my phone decided to throw a tantrum. I lost all the footage. So for those guys of you that watch Hubnut, you'll know that something very similar happened to him, and in fact I messaged him and said, what do I do? He was very supportive, so thanks Ian. I didn't manage to get the footage back, but hey ho, we're here, and we're cracking on, and we're doing a review of this fantastic Volvo 164. So the quality in this car is unparalleled. I've not experienced really anything like it, and in fact, I'm sorry I'm going to upset some of you, I prefer it to the Rolls Royce. So it's kind of up there in terms of when I went out in the P6, the Rover P6, I would say the quality is very similar in terms of it's quiet to drive, the handling is supreme. So again, just like the Rover, this is, goodness, what am I for? Parasitic steering. This has got parasitic steering, but when I took the Rolls Royce out, I felt like it was very, very light, whereas this, I still feel like I've got a really good handle on what's going on. The turning circle is great, and as we drive, you'll notice there's no knocking, clanging, banging, or just, you know, that general teeniness that I think some people think you get with 70s cars. This is actually beautiful to drive, and it is so quiet. I would say it's up there with a lot of modern cars, which is such a bizarre concept, because I think, again, a lot of people see old car, they think wreck, they think tinny, they think unsafe, they think it's going to be loud, they think it's going to be uncomfortable, and this could not be further from the truth in this car. So let's talk about how it was marketed. This car went out, so Volvo went out and they said, the 164, creme de la creme, top of the range, this is the car that we're going to use to shout to the world, we are a quality car manufacturer. So they went out and they said, you won't appreciate the Volvo 164 until you've driven a Mercedes. That was how confident they were. They said, we are better than Mercedes. Now, I've not driven a Mercedes before. I've been a passenger in a modern one. It was boring. I know I've never driven an old Mercedes, but this to me already screams quality, from the build to the drive experience to the luxury as well. The seats, for example, they're leather. It's on over 80,000 miles on the clock, and yet these seats feel brand new. They're well upholstered, they're well stuffed, and they are thoroughly comfortable. In fact, I could probably take this car on a marathon drive and enjoy it, because it's such an easy, pleasurable car to drive. Now, I wanted to show you guys, because I know I've had a lot of feedback in terms of how people like the videos to be done. So we're going to hop in the front now, and we're going to film from the front, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why this is called the Volvo 164, and give you a few other geeky facts as well. Now we're back in the front. This is far how I prefer to do videos, but I know some of you guys like it when we shoot from the back, so you can see when we're driving, we can talk that way. So I try and split the video now to give you a bit of a different perspective. So this is a Volvo 164. Now, I did say to Steve, because I didn't really know much about Volvos until I've been taking them out, is what does the 164 actually mean? Like, do they just come up with numbers randomly? Like, how do they do it? And he said the way they did it was the 164 set in the 100 series. It was a 6-cylinder engine, and it's quality, and and it's something that I really hope comes across in this video, that this car is built like no car really that I've driven. Like, it is exceptional. And if you think that this car came about in the 70s, and the 70s were, for those of you that are au fait with British Leyland, and you know, things like in the 60s, you know, you've got the strikes down at Dagenham, you've got the strikes at the factories up north for Ford, because you know, you've got the workers that are striking about the machinists, and they did have a point, to be fair. And then you've got British Leyland, their workers started striking in the 70s. So it's a really kind of that late 60s, early 70s into mid 70s. It's a bit of a tempestuous period where build quality isn't always seen as the best, or cars seen as sometimes as a bit rushed, whereas this doesn't seem to match any of that at all. And it's exceptional. Now, as we talked about the build quality, and I know I keep going on about it, one of the most interesting things for me is that, so from kind of here forwards, that is exclusive to this car, but back is the body shell, get this right, the body shell is the same as the 240, so much so in fact that you could swap the doors. Now, I find that really interesting, because Volvo obviously play to their strengths in terms of safety. I think this car, as you drive it, I wish that I could almost get one of you guys here and just see what I mean. It feels very safe, it's very sturdy on the road, and even though you've got that power steering, you still feel, sometimes I think power steering, especially early power steering, can sometimes feel very kind of, you know, like Bambi on ice. It feels a bit sketchy, whereas with this, it feels very firmly planted on the road, and you've got great visibility as well. So sometimes when you take cars out with headrests, like the Mark II Metro, for example, it can almost feel like what you gain from having a headrest, you have to compromise in terms of visibility. Whereas in this, I don't know what it is, but the way it's been styled and the way it's been laid out, you still have all that amazing visibility that you have of an old car. So like, you know, for me, this is quite a big car, but you can look down over the bonnet, and I can hear those of you in America laughing at me, because I know you always remind me that your cars are so much bigger than ours, but look, we live in Britain and our cars are smaller. So as you look down over the bonnet here, you can get a really good sense of how big the car is. The turning circle, you know, as I said, is exceptional. Your visibility all round is great. Your mirrors, so the mirrors that we saw in this car, you know, that's your standard mirrors. You've got great visibility. You can see all the way down the end of the car. I can look over my shoulder. All in all, it's a very comfortable driving experience, and it feels safe, and it feels secure, and it feels dependable without being boring. And I think that is such a hard balance to strike, and it's something that we definitely need to talk more about, because it's one of the things that puts me off modern cars, is that they always just feel a bit too safe, a bit too boring, a bit too anonymous. Whereas I feel like this has got all those, for me, it's got like all those safety, you know, that cocooned nature of a car, of a well-built car, but it isn't boring. So yeah, so it definitely gets 10 out of 10 for me, and from me. And the only thing, I guess, if I'm scratching around and say, look, what don't I like? The one thing I don't like about the car is this indicator, because it is so short that I feel like you have to reach around the steering wheel to grab it. So yeah, absolutely exceptional car, and definitely a car that I would recommend. And if you've got the chance to get behind the wheel of one, you definitely need to do it, because they are exceptional. So it's time for me to say goodbye to you guys and to hand the keys back to this amazing Volvo 164. It's been an absolute privilege to drive in. It's been so different as well. So I've never really had experience of Volvos. You know, when I was a child, I think we had the Volvo 240. So yeah, in terms of, I have been in a Volvo, but I've never been an adult appreciating the true quality and luxury of the cars themselves. And so today and the first time we filmed, has been an absolute revelation. And do you know what? It's actually been quite nice getting back behind the wheel of the car and, you know, getting to experience it again, because it's just such an incredible car to drive. And although they aren't the cheapest, for a decent example like this, you're looking somewhere between the 10 to 15k mark. It's definitely, in my opinion, worth the money. It's a beautiful car. It's got everything you need in a classic, but also with that 3-litre straight six, you can keep up with the modern traffic. And with the automatic box, it means that, you know, you're not having to constantly change up and down through the gears. So it's just a relaxing driving experience, really, especially with these leather seats. Now it's time for me to say goodbye to you guys. 2020 will be going back to normal because, as many of you know, I have got a job. So everything's going to start going back to normal. We're going to have videos every Wednesday and every Sunday. And of course, I do post up content and mishaps throughout the week. So you can catch me on Facebook at IDRIVEACLASSIC. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter as well. Again, very unimaginatively, IDRIVEACLASSIC. So if you're on social media, catch up with me there, because it's great to speak to you guys outside of YouTube, and it means that I get a much better sense for what you guys want to see as well. So until next time, take care, drive safely, and have a lovely Christmas.